My brother, what's happening?
Oh, my glasses. Oh, all right. Okay. Now I can't see you.
I'm the big chocolate person in the middle of your screen.
Ooh, chocolate. I want some.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So anyway,
So what's your angst, my brother?
I don't know. I'm excited about the kung fu community coming together. I would like to see more combat and application than I do forms. Uh, I just think that, and forms are, I'm all for forms.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of systems are the foundation, but I'm not understanding the bigger why. And I love to see that, in other styles, because I can learn at the same time. But to argue about fighting and then just do forms is just a waste of time for me.
Right. Because
Right.
to argue about forms is kind of like arguing about dance moves.
Right.
Unless you're arguing about, okay, that attack, I would have to move my foot this way or else I'll get bowled over or stuff like that. That is a credible thing. Kind of like the whole time about, 2-3 years ago, just 2-3 years ago, everybody's arguing about if there's global warming or not, instead of how do we fix the global warming.
Right. Right.
You got
Yeah, because
some. Yeah.
I think our community needs to understand what the primary aim here is. And that's great for the traditional systems, and that's great for the modern systems and the performance wushu systems, but you got to know what's the primary aim, and then what are you doing to move it forward. So if you are a self-defense system, what are you doing in the realm of self-defense? Because I've had people contact me before and they talked about fighting, and that's great. And I was all in. I think it's a wonderful thing. As far as classic kung fu techniques, modern techniques, modification of hand-to-hand combat, and I love that stuff. But then when I do a little deeper investigation, all I see is forms. And for me personally, forms are not fighting. Sorry.
You mean the people who shout the loudest but don't really put up anything combat?
Yeah, there's that. But I would love to see systems, because there's so many styles of kung fu.
Right.
I see our kung fu brothers put some hand-to-hand combat up. It doesn't matter, and they're going to have to go with what you and I have gone through, because there's going to always be someone who's going to be like, that's garbage, that's crap, that would never work in a real fight, and da 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 da. But they're going to have to go through what we went through. People are going to always attack us, but that never stops us or tells us we can't do what we say we can do.
Right. I mean, I regard us as some sort of like mad scientist sometimes.
Right.
Because if we see something in a form, we see somebody do something, we see something that's like, okay, how are we going to use that? We kind of go into our little lab and go like this. And we're not afraid to make a mistake. And I feel like many of our brothers and sisters who's been invested in Kung Fu for so long, they're so afraid to make a mistake and to discredit or at least make their style dysfunctional. So I feel like it'll become even more functional, and now it's going to become practical if they actually put it in the lab and try it out, like what we do constantly.
Well, and I think that for me, if you're part of a big organization and you're having questions or doubt about what you do, go up the food chain, get the answer from someone. And if it's not there, then you need to know that you've talked to quite a few people and the answer is not there. The answer is just for combat is not another form. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's just not.
Right.
It's just not another form to answer for combat. Now, once you start going down the realm of sensao and you're practicing it more, forms actually, I personally think, has a higher value once you practice sensao.
It means something.
Right, like I said the other day, I think that it starts. You learn a foundation, then you practice sensao, and then when you go to the other side, when you're understanding at a proficient level, the forms actually makes more sense.
Yeah.
But to only do forms all the way through, there's a great component that's missing.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there that's that are really struggling to figure out what to do with it.
I like what you said. You said one day in one of your posts that you want to do the 70-30 or 60-40 concept. 60% combat, 40% drills, basics, and form.
Right.
I,
All in
I
that.
like I like that when you said that. I liked when you said that because there's a lot of people who the majority of their training is drills and form.
Right. And then when they
They
spar,
haven't sparring.
they do kickboxing.
Right.
Right. Which is totally okay if you're a kickboxer.
If you're a kickboxer. Right.
Totally okay. If you're a Muay Thai stylist, it's totally okay if you do kickboxing and Muay Thai when you do sparring. But when you're doing some sort of white crane kung fu or hungar, and then you do sparring, and you look like you're doing kickboxing, there's a disconnect.
And I think that, there's a lot of practitioners out there who really want to know what these movements do,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I said,
Exactly.
yeah, and that's why I always say, when someone goes, oh, there's some stuff in this, then it tells me that they're not qualified to teach me combat.
Right.
And I know that may
the
upset some of our,
ingredients.
well, I think that may upset some of our brothers, Kung Fu brothers, but then I hope that they don't take it out on us. They go deeper and say, listen, you're right. I need to learn what this is,
Yeah. And that is basically you and that's our mission. It's like these amazing, our brothers and sisters that are, took so much time to learn this hard style
Yeah.
or art, the father of all martial arts, and them not using it in combat is such a waste.
Yeah, and there's some people who, like us, dedicated their life to this. They really work hard. They evangelize it. I learned that from Sifu Sheldon. Like they get out and they preach and they talk about the greatness of their system, and that's awesome. I think that to have that level of passion and to go out there and want to share it with people, I think that's amazing.
Right.
But it can't be incomplete. It can't be incomplete. It has to have the combat aspect.
It has to show me the money.
Yeah.
It can't just be blah 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 and talk. Yeah. So there's a lot of things that people go through. There's a lot of angst and anxieties and frustrations in combat, but that comes with the territory. And when you get through that, like we were talking in our last conversation, where you put your students to basically a pressure test, a pressure cooker, and when they, and it's because it's when you're there, is when they get out of that, I'm sure it transcends everything about their emotional aspect and their physical aspect. And so, because they understand that, oh, I went to a level, instead of a lot of schools where I go to, where they just throw the belt at you and go, okay, you're a yellow belt. Or you're going to pay me $4,000 so you could kick 400 times and I'll give you a black belt.
And there's a code of ethics in all martial arts when you go to its origin, that some people realize, you know what, I can just make a lot of money, getting people to pretend they are, and we at the Village have seen this because we're the only Kung Fu school in our entire area. And we've had so many different type of martial arts walk in. They just think that we're a soft Tai Chi school. When they find out we're a combat school, then they can't get out the door fast enough,
Yeah.
And the reality is these aren't people who've trained 3 years, 5 years. These are people who've trained decades, and they should know better. And they should know better. They should be humble enough to walk into any school and be humble to the instructor and to the group and respectful to the environment.
Even if you've learned Kung Fu for 200 years, you should still be humble going to any place,
Absolutely. I always tell people the first year I went to China, I wore basic black t-shirt, black sweats, never said anything about what I did. Mm-hmm. I said, because I wasn't there for myself and to show off what I can do. I was there to learn, but that wasn't always the case when I would see people come from, especially people come from America. They come in, they're like cowboys. They're like kicking over the saloon, kicking the saloon door open where they gotta move back and forth. And it's like the music.
Where's your sheriff?
Exactly. That was my
Where's the Abbott?
That was my first year experience in China, and I just kind of went 19th Lohan on them. I went,
Oh no.
because it was just embarrassing. It was embarrassing,
Yeah, it gets like
and
that.
and I'm like, guys, come on, we're better than this. We're better than this, and we should be, here to learn. But it is what it is. I don't
Right.
have to hang out with them.
I mean, people who will be watching this understand, and the ones who know us, we're a lot more opinionated off camera. But what we tout and what we say on camera is the truth. We really genuinely want all our Kung Fu brothers and sisters to really find out how awesome their style is, and
Right.
putting it into a street practical combat. And no matter what opinion we have off camera, what we say on camera has always been our genuine mission, our genuine truth. We
Absolutely.
want to encourage everyone.
Absolutely. And I think, like you and I said, I've seen some amazing martial artists. It's like, boy, if I could just show you the hand-to-hand combat component. And most people, Sifu guys, I got it. Then they want to show me some athletic version of it, and I'm like, okay, that's great for an athlete, but let's tie your feet and one of your hands together and see how it works now.
Right.
And then they can't do it, because they're used to using their athletic understanding. I go, but what happens when you meet somebody who outmatches you athletically? I go, that's what your art should be teaching you. What happens if you're a smaller person fighting a bigger person who's in great shape, who can move real well,
Or who has a weapon or
Right.
something,
Right. And I go, that's what, I would say Kung Fu is a survivor's art, and it's probably true about every martial art, but Kung Fu is a survivor's art. From the Shaolin Temple to now, even further than the Shaolin Temple, but from the Shaolin Temple to now, it has history about survival. And to see arts where they don't understand their survival history, it saddens me sometimes. I'm like, but your art got here because it survived. It was really good. That's why we know about it now.
Mm-hmm.
I hope everyone can get that. I hope everyone can go deeper into their hand-to-hand combat and really learn, the beauty, that aspect of the beauty of what they do.
Yeah, they have. It really comes from, I mean, as an individual, it'll be harder for you, especially if you're working still under a Sifu, or under your master still. It really is, it's hard to decide these things if you're still completely under your master. And I'm sure many practitioners who are forcibly taken away from their teacher and they have to look for something, do think about these things. It's like, how effective could this be? How am I going to use that?
Right.
And I feel bad for some of those people who are just left alone like that.
Well, I hope that we can provide an avenue in which, we can grow and they can grow and all that good stuff. I think we have to wrap it up here, but my thinking is that, for our Kung Fu community out there, this is not about bashing styles or bashing masters or anything like that. This is about growth, and in some growth, you have to have a lot of truth,
Yes, it has to be community growth.
Right. Because if you and I grow and Kung Fu dies, not to say it would die because, but let's say if it did, then that doesn't help us at all.
No. I don't want to take what I know to my grave.
Right.
But if I don't get anybody to know it, I'm completely comfortable with it also.
Well, that'd be a shame.
I would rather show it, but I have a son, but he's I don't force him to do Kung Fu.
Right. Well, and I think that, especially for that generation who's still hungry to learn it, we hope to interact with them and share what we can with them. So I think that's a good thing.
Well, my daughter has given me a grandson, so maybe, because my daughter went up to yellow belt, but my grandson, he's freaking athletic. So
there's hope.
Well, my daughter and her husband are a bit protective, and I don't think I could do what I did with my brother, teaching my brother and teaching my my family members to them because they'll get mad at me.
Yeah, yeah. You have to wait till he gets old enough to not be able to tell mom and dad. With
Well,
grandpa.
no, I'll just make him old enough and send him to you.
Here's how we torture him.
Yes, here, he's your problem now.
Exactly.
He's an awesome kid, though.
And it was very cool last week doing the live on Instagram. So I'm looking forward to more of those too.
Yeah, and eventually we'll figure out Facebook too.
Yeah. All right, my brother.
All right,
Well,
brother.
are you doing okay in the quarantine and all that stuff?
I think so. I'm talking to my Google a lot. Hey Google, make all lights blue. I wonder if there it goes. Now it's all blue. Hey Google, do you love me?
Google's like, hell no.
She says, I sure do. But when people does Alexa, she goes, well, I have to know you first. I like her. She knows I bought her, I own her, you know.
That's funny.
That kind of thing. But
right,
anyways,
brother,
my brother.
We're going to go ahead and, all right, we'll chat at you. We'll do this again soon.
I'm the Blue Man Group. Okay.
Blue Man Group. All right.